Wakanda forever!
Hello and welcome to you, and especially you. I'm Pastor Jeff, and we're right here live with the GW3 Live Tom Ford Fridays Men Mindset Money. Let's talk. And we can't wait to get into our real live, unscripted barbershop conversation where it's just men only. We're live on Clubhouse, we're live on YouTube and on Facebook. And we want to remind you to go ahead and put your comments in and put your questions in. We may get to them, we may not. I'm going to go ahead and put the disclaimer up at the beginning. The opinions of our guests are not necessarily, nor do they reflect the opinions of the GW3 Live, the Global Women Wealth Warriors, or the board of directors. They are solely the opinions of the guest. And with that, we're going to go ahead and bring up our first guest. We've got Brother Corey with us. We'll let him tell you who he is, what he's doing, how he's making an impact. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the conversation. On Clubhouse, we've got Brother Tyrone. We've got Jonathan. We've got Robert, Tyreek, Brother Core Element, Terrence, Cedric, Mac, and there may be a few others that I'm not seeing right now. With that being said, that was a mouthful, Brother Corey. Go ahead and tell them who you are, what you're doing, and how you're impacting the world before we start this barbershop conversation, Corey.
Good to see you again, Pastor Jeff. My name is Corey McCoy. I'm a risk taker, entrepreneur from Louisiana, Lafayette in specific. I own a chain of restaurants called Kitchen on Clinton, Wings and Things. I was able to start a business out of my backyard and grow it into a multi-million-dollar business with a couple of locations at this point. We're expanding right now with the goals of becoming a nationwide brand. So that's who I am, Pastor Jeff, and I'm excited to meet everybody in the room today.
Thank you, Brother Corey. And I just want to make this emphasis because, as I said in Clubhouse before we came on live, a lot of women have a narrative that there's no good men left in America. And, I'm taken already. But, Brother Corey, you're a good man. And there's some other good men. Brother Tyrone, Brother Jonathan, Brother Robert, Brother Tariq, Brother Core, Brother Terrence, Brother Cedric, Brother Mac, and there's some others that are also in the room. Also, we got Brother James, who's always supporting us here. We got Brother Derek that came in. We got Brother Brandon. We got Brother Paul. I mean, we just keep going down the list of good men. Let me say that one more time. G with a capital G, OODMEN, good men. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And when our other guests join, the producers will go ahead and bring them up. Brother Corey, we're going to jump right into this barbershop conversation. And for the men that are on Clubhouse, I'm getting the red bar, so I don't know if they're hearing me well on Clubhouse or not. But let's jump in with a question from the ladies to start out with. And that question has to do about men admitting when they're wrong and apologizing. Now, it is Gary Chapman, who wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages, also wrote a book called The 5 Languages of Apology. And he suggests that there are 5 languages of apology, one being expressing regret, another being accepting responsibility. In other words, saying I was wrong. Expressing regret is just to say I apologize. Making restitution. What can I do to make it right? Genuinely repentance. I'll try to not to do that again. And then requesting forgiveness. Will you please forgive me? Those are the 5 languages and an example of what they sound like. In your opinion, why is it so difficult for men to admit that they're wrong, say I'm sorry, and continue to move on?
Man, I think it's difficult for anybody to admit that. And it's crazy that you say he has the book, the 5, apologies as well, because I never heard of that one. We hear about the 5 love languages all the time, but we never even, hear about the book about the apologies. Specifically for men, why I feel like it's hard for us at times is because so much pressure is put on us to make the decisions in the first place. So a lot of times, even when we're not 100% and, we're not completely sure, we kind of have to, jump off the cliff or step out on the plank and put ourselves in that position to be the leader. So when we make the wrong decision, sometimes it hurts your pride a little bit. It tastes a little sour sometimes. And I feel like that's primarily the reason why it takes men, a little. If I can be honest, Pastor Jeff, I think it might be a little bit harder for the women to admit when they're wrong.
You know what, Corey? I wasn't going to bring that up yet, but
it does get hard. It does get hard.
Yeah, since you brought it up, I tell you what, I think a lot of men will agree with you, but the women want to know. So we started out today. Ladies, we want you to know that we're listening to you. All right. We know you can't talk for the next hour, but we're listening. So we started out today with your question. Corey, before I go to Clubhouse, I want to go back to something that you said about pressure. You said in the beginning of your statement that we have a lot of pressure put on us in the first place. Would you expand on that a little bit?
I think in any situation, I believe women are definitely capable of making decisions. Actually, some of the best decisions are made when you go and get the advice, from that woman in your life first. They definitely have a different perspective. But
hey guys, can you guys hear Pastor Jeff in the clubhouse, or is it just on my side?
No, he's breaking up.
He's in the matrix.
Okay, Pastor Jeff, you are in the matrix. So if we can get you out of the matrix, that would be awesome.
All right, go ahead, Corey. Hopefully they got me. I'll be getting out of the matrix here on Clubhouse in a moment. Go ahead and continue if you don't mind.
All right. Yeah, I hope we get that worked out. Yeah, but I was saying I feel like a lot of times some of the major decisions, even if we didn't make those decisions ourselves, when it comes to fixing those mistakes, we're usually right there in the forefront and right there in the middle of it, to smooth it over, to come up with new solutions. Men are very solution-based people. Well, I say women are better at thinking through the emotions of it, thinking through all of the, the backstory of it, kind of connecting the pieces together. I feel like men are a lot better built to come to that final decision. Look, this is just what we're doing, regardless of all these other details. This is the direction we're going in. And a lot of times, yes, that is a lot of pressure. And the pressure comes from you knowing, hey, if this doesn't work out, I also got to be the first person on the floor cleaning up the mistake. And that's that pressure that I'm speaking about, Pastor Jeff.
That's a good point, Corey. And I don't know if the ladies actually even consider that. I believe it's that women have more practice of dealing with their emotions. They're more comfortable with the emotional side. They're cultured to deal with their emotions, where for the most part, men are not. We're told to suck it up, keep on moving, and I think that goes to what you're talking about, the pressure part of it. Hopefully they can hear me on Clubhouse now. And so we're actually going to see if they hear us on Clubhouse. So we're going to go to the Clubhouse, and those who are watching us live, just listen to the voices. And we're going to ask, are there any men on Clubhouse that like to chime in on that question? Why is it so difficult for men to apologize. Please state who you are before you speak so that our live listeners know who it is that's talking. How about a Clubhouse? Any men on Clubhouse that like to
Hey,
answer?
hey, Pastor Jeff, how you doing? This is Julian Bratano here.
Julian, I'm glad you're with us. Go ahead, Julian.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, obviously, for hosting us on Fridays. I'm glad to be back to visit with everybody. Um, I'm not. This is just again. I always speak from my perspective. Um, I had, I guess, I had to learn to get to this place of being able to apologize because I have no issue with apologizing for my fault in something without looking for anything in return. I don't need an apology back. I don't even need you to necessarily say that you forgive me for whatever my infraction or whatever it was. So it's just me acknowledging that if I did something to you publicly, it doesn't have to be in public, but just outwardly, I feel like it's necessary to acknowledge if I was wrong and where I was wrong, not just, oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm tell you why. I'll tell you how I arrived there. So I think if I have to reverse engineer my own thinking, what makes it difficult sometimes to do that is people having a fear or apprehension of not being. And I'm sorry I came in late, so if this is repetitive to anything else, then
Oh,
I
you're fine.
apologize.
You're fine. Go ahead.
But I think sometimes it's the apprehension or fear sometimes of someone not feeling heard, right? A man not feeling that, like maybe it might have been mentioned or not that you made a mistake or that in a sense of an inadequacy of my actions, of my choices that I've made. No man wants to feel inadequate in any way, shape, or form. So admitting to that, now you're leaving yourself vulnerable and susceptible for ridicule or for judgment. And maybe perhaps a man isn't prepared for that backlash. And it might not even happen like that, but sometimes it does. But you got to have tough enough skin, thick enough skin to say, all right, it is what it is. This is the choice I made. I'll just say that for now, and I'll yield the mic for somebody else.
Julian, I want you to, if you don't mind, to repeat something that you just said, because as you speak, I believe that most men will understand exactly where you're coming from, but I don't know if the women really even consider that it's that involved. So can you go through those feelings? All right, the feelings that you said that the man may go through.
Sure, yeah. Like I said, feeling inadequate, right? Inadequacy is a big thing for a man. Because we're told and we're groomed throughout our childhood and early manhood that you need to be, whether if you're an alpha, beta, whatever someone wants to classify themselves as, you're told a man is supposed to have certain characteristics and traits, and in order to be a man, this just has to be. You have to be a leader. You have to be strong. You have to be decisive. You have to, and anytime anybody has the ability to attack any of these characteristic traits, that kind of chips off of your manhood to make you less of a man. There's a demasculation or whatnot, and I feel as though just that apprehension that may never happen in the conversation of being apologetic. It may never occur, but it's just sometimes it's a subliminal, a subconscious thing of what if, and the man not even realize what's going on. He may not even realize that that's what he feels. But I could, just me being a guy, and being someone that has gotten to a place where I don't care. I no longer care about none of that. I'm just going to say what it is because that's my release. That's my clearance of my own spirit being of I was wrong. Let me acknowledge my wrongdoings or my wrong thinking, and let's get it straight. I want to get to the resolve. So because that's where my mindset is now, I've been able to graduate past that. But a lot of men may not even know. And so women, I would definitely take that into a factor as in consideration that, just like you all have your things that you have to go through and get past, men got things that we got to deal too, just because we don't have that platform a lot of times to share like that and to express that. That doesn't mean it's not there within us. Now, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Julian. We're just going to ask all of the men, whether you're on Clubhouse or as Brother Corey, who's joining us who's joined us live on Facebook and YouTube. Look, gentlemen, we in the barbershop, we in the barber chair here, and Brother Jonathan Simmons just joined us. And we're going to speak as though the women aren't even here. We know they flies on the wall, but let's just talk like they not here. And so we're not going to even talk to them. We're going to talk to each other. And if we address women, we'll just say what we think about women. And before we go to Brother Jonathan, I want to bring up something that you said, Brother Julian, as you talked about apologizing. And I'm going to go back to the 5 love languages. If you haven't gotten the book, get the book and read it. It's great for not only your personal growth, but it's also good for relationships, especially those romantic relationships. Now, Julian used the word apologize. And the thing is that Dr. Chapman would suggest that the word apology or I apologize is just the number 1 of the 5 love languages, which is just expressing regret. Now, what is so significant here, brothers, as you sit in your chair, is that those who we interact with, whether it be a spouse, a significant other, a co-worker, or our children or other family members, if their apology language happens to be requesting forgiveness and we are expressing apology, then they don't feel like they got an apology. Their language hasn't been addressed. And so the brother may be saying, I apologize profusely. All right. What else do you want me to do? Brother, you might have that conversation. What else do you want me to say? I already said I'm sorry. I already apologized. And she looking at you like, with that deer in the headlights look like, no, because her language is, you didn't say, will you please forgive me? And brothers, we might say that's a little petty. However, if that's her love language, if that's his love language, then that's what it is. Brother Jonathan Simmons, we are welcome and glad that you joined us today. What do you say about this idea of men having difficulty to apologize? Mike's over to you, Mr. Jonathan.
Well, thanks, sometimes. First of all, gentlemen, good to see all you guys. Ladies that are watching and can't talk, good to see you too. So at the end of the day, I think it's a situation where sometimes it's guys maybe not as verbal as women are. Women can be very verbal, sometimes even more eloquent in expressing their feelings, where guys may not, because a lot of times guys are more tuned towards action. Maybe that might be it. And maybe it might be because you're a guy of few words. Maybe you just kind of get to the point, say what you have to say, but because you didn't say it the right way, that your significant other might be feeling some kind of way. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if you feel you got to apologize, just apologize in whatever way you got to do it. So you don't have to be like me and have to put on your shades. And as you can see, I have the yellow shades on, brother, because at night it allows me to see just that better. I'm just saying.
Brother Jonathan, you can put the shades on already. That means, for those of you who don't know, Brother Jonathan, and we need you to go ahead and mute Jonathan when you're not talking.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. That cuts the feedback out. For those of you who don't know, Brother Jonathan Simmons, right there in hot Atlanta, Georgia, when he puts the shades on, that means that's a question. Either he's done answering or he just ain't gonna answer. He done put the shades on, he done changed the color. Now Pastor Jeff got to figure out what color means what. We'll go back to the clubhouse really quick. Are there any other men that want to chime in? You're in your chair and you can't wait to tell us, why is it that men find it so difficult to apologize? We're gonna look and see. Just say who your name and then go ahead and speak. Anybody on the clubhouse want to chime in? How about it, Brother Tyrone? I'm calling folks out. You want to chime in, Brother Tyrone? All right, Brother Tyrone, not there. How about you, brother?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. All right.
Yes, yeah, we got to be very quick. I'm actually preparing for a great event, but I just be very quick and very blunt. This is why it's important for the male and the female to be in the house. This is why it's important for the male and the female, the father and the mother, to understand their roles, and that, number one, it takes both. So I believe that the father brings certain attributes, and the mother brings certain attributes, and together they both represent God. So God is forgiving. So he forgives us. And also God chastens us. God loves us. So when you put the mother and the father together, then the child, male or female, learns those traits. So it'll be easy for you to forgive. It'll be easy for you to be emotional. It'll
All right, looks like we lost Brother Tyrone, but he brings up a very good point, gentlemen, as we sit in these barber chairs. And because we know that it's best to have a mother and father in the household, but I don't care what statistics you look at, many of them are going to tell you that we have a lot of single mothers. And so, gentlemen, as we sit in these barber chairs and we think,
we had the right system there. So we will win. So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that it's hard for men to say they're sorry or to be emotional because they never saw it. So if you see it, you're going to become it. So that's why I think it's important for the men and the male and the female, the father and the mother, so that when they rear that child, the father is able to give that child the essence of what it's like to go out there and hunt. And not saying that women can't hunt either. I've seen lioness. I actually looked at a video last night. Lioness, they were, man, jumping on a giraffe. I'm like, oh my goodness. So, but the bottom line is, all I'm saying is the mother and the father, if together, if we do what we need to do, then we won't have problems with our men, male child, saying they're sorry or being, emotional or whatever the case may be. So hopefully that makes sense. This is Tyrone, and I appreciate you, Pastor Jeff. Always doing a great job, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. And everybody else on the panel. And Jonathan Simmons. Thank you, guys.
thank you, Brother Tyrone. Y'all should have seen, those of you who are not on the live, y'all should have seen Brother Jonathan's look. But look here, again, Tyrone brings up a very good point. And so what I was asking before his audio came back in, gentlemen, kings, for that mother who is a single mother, how can she help her son to become a person that is not only emotionally in tune to who he is, but still a man, but to be better equipped to be able to say, I'm sorry, or I was wrong, or what can I do to make it right, or I'll try not to do that again, or will you please forgive me? What can she do? We'll go with you, Jonathan.
All right, so so my mom was by herself, raised us. We had 3 brothers, actually a 4th by adoption. So it was a situation where, she just basically told us to, as best we can, tell the truth. Now, best we can, tell the truth. And if you make a mistake, own up to it. And that's what she really did. I mean, she told us how to man up. My brothers are married. But anyway, yeah, my brothers are all married, got kids. And it's just, it was a matter of, my mom was big on communication. And because here's the thing, if you didn't learn how to say you're sorry, Dorothy Mason is about to get on your behind. So you had to learn early on, brother. You had to do what you had to do and fess up. But brother, I'm gonna jump off the mic for a second here, Pastor Jeff, brother Corey. Hopefully one day we can hook up and meet up and get together. Absolutely. Gentlemen, to the next time. Peace and love.
Peace and love. We're looking forward to it, brother Corey. How about you? What can single mothers do to better equip their sons to be okay with identifying their emotions, and from this topic to be able to say I'm sorry, to be able to say I apologize, to be able to say I was wrong, or what can I do to make it right, or would you please forgive me? What do you say, Corey?
being raised by a single mother too, Pastor Jeff, I feel like it's two different things you have to do, and it depends on what stage, you know what I'm saying, your child is in. Early on, I feel like you have to create that safe space for that young boy or young man to have emotions. A lot of times you'll hear phrases like "man up," or you'll hear phrases like "oh, brush that off, be tough." You're not supposed to be doing this. You're a man. You're not supposed to be doing that. You're a man. And there is certain lessons that can be taught from a woman's perspective about what a man is supposed to be. But at the same time, I feel like single mothers don't have to try to be the man in that relationship. I mean, in that relationship between the two children. Single mothers can be the woman and, like we said, give the emotional stability to their young child to where they can be a better man in a sense because they are in tune with their emotional side and they're comfortable with accessing their emotional side. And then on the adult side, I think it's very important for women to provide that same safe space to their the adult males in their life, in the sense of they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna make some wrong decisions. And I believe that was Tyrone who was talking about feeling inadequate. Um, Men want to still have a strong support system behind them, even when they tend to make wrong decisions sometimes. I mean, we're not God, we're not perfect by any means, so we're bound to make wrong decisions from time to time. When we make those wrong decisions, how many of those women in our life are still there to be like, hey, we still believe in you. We're still confident in your leadership. Despite this wrong decision that we're all experiencing right now, we still trust in your vision, to get us back on track. And as a matter of fact, these are our opinions on how we can help. These are our opinions on what could have been different, but very important to provide a safe space both in that early age and in that later stage of their life, to where it allows those men to confront their mistakes, own up to them, and then make a better decision in the future.
Corey, that's a great perspective. And before I make the mistake of staying on one question too long, we're going to move to another question. Look here. If you're joining us live on YouTube, if you're joining us live on Facebook, go ahead and put something in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit the like and share. And if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, look here. I don't know what you're waiting on. You're not going to get any better barbershop conversation than what you're getting here at GW3 Live. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell so you know every time that we come on, because we give you great content almost 5 days a week. And on Clubhouse, if you haven't hit that greenhouse at the top, look at here. Go ahead and put your finger on the house, subscribe, like, and let some other folks know, because as they would say in B.O.B., but Byron would say, we ain't got no stingy energy. And so we're going to move on to the next question. Look here. We know, and if you don't know, I don't know where you've been for the last week, because there has been such an uproar and many conversations going on about the reversal of Roe versus Wade. Now, one of the things that Pastor Jeff wants to ask you gentlemen is this: how can we as men support our women during this time? Now, let me add this to it really quick, because I know that we will never get a consensus on the decision. There are those who, for whatever their culture is and their perspective is that they're happy. There are those who, based off of their culture and their perspective, that they're unhappy. But my question for the men: how do we support our women after this decision? Brother Corey, we'll go to you, and then we'll go ahead to the men on Clubhouse that are in their chairs. So men on Clubhouse, go ahead and you can think about that question, and we're going to come to you right after our live guest. Brother Corey, how can we support the women?
What I've been experiencing, Pastor Jeff, is to listen and don't be quick to jump and even say how we feel about it, because this decision really was an impactful decision on women. And although we are involved in it to a degree because it takes two, to make a baby, but I've been realizing just
Say that one
listening.
more time, please.
Yeah, it takes two to make a baby, right? That's another thing, that gets overlooked. But I believe the biggest way for us to help is really to just have open ears and listen. It wasn't until recently that I've heard just so much dialogue about that subject. Of course, you hear it in conversations in passing, but everybody has something to say. So it was very interesting hearing a range of perspectives from a bunch of different women on how they felt about it, how they felt about it, how it impacted their body, how they felt about how the government had control over an aspect of that. And I think just letting them know that we're here for them, regardless of how they feel, and letting them know that yes, this is one of those decisions where y'all might have complete and total control. I won't even say might. In my opinion, it is complete and total control over you know how y'all feel about that decision. I haven't been given any input on how I feel about it personally because I feel like this is a woman's decision at the end of the day on what should be done with her body.
I hear you, Corey. Thank you. And we're going to go to the clubhouse and we're going to see if Brother Core is available to chime in from his barber chair. Brother Core, how can we support the women after this decision? Are you there?
I am here. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I heard my name.
Yes, Brother Core Element. We're always glad to have you with us. And so the question is, after the reversal of Roe versus Wade, the court decision on abortion, how can we as men support the women? That's the question.
Wow. So, how can we support the women? And the women need our support. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Bible reference that I've been checking out recently. And I never read it like this up until recently, which is Matthew 28:5. It's where the Jesus had already resurrected, and Mary Magdalene and Mary his mother and the other women went to the tomb, and they saw that the big boulder had been moved, and the angel was there, and the angel said, well, God, what are you doing here? God, Jesus did exactly what he said he was going to do. He resurrected. So now go and tell the men, go and tell the others the good news, which is the gospel. And so for that time that the women were like moving, they were the keepers of the gospel. There was a point where God gave them that responsibility, and then they went to the men, and the men were like, "All right, we'll take it from here. Thanks." And then next thing you know, there was a couple of millennia of the women sitting in the back seat. And it's not until now that women are actually taking the responsibility of lifting themselves up and raising themselves by their own bootstraps, because American legislature is not exactly helping them. So I feel like the best thing that we can do as men is support them, not just on the family level, but also in our jobs, in their jobs, in their roles, trying to educate themselves. Just wherever we are, support women. That's the best thing that we can do.
Thank you, Cord, for that perspective. And I agree with you. The thing is to support, and as I spoke earlier, is that, you may not even agree with the opinion of the other person or of the woman, but be supportive. We don't have to agree to support. We can agree to disagree and still give support. We're going to go to Brother Julian in the clubhouse. And before I go to Brother Julian, just want to say that they're blowing up the comments on YouTube. We want to say thank you to all our YouTube watchers and subscribers, as well as to all of those on Facebook. They're blowing up the comments as well. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Renee when the men, when we conclude our portion of the barbershop conversation. I don't know who was blowing up the most. Was it Clubhouse? Was it Facebook? Was it YouTube? Maybe we got a little contest going on here. See who can put in the most comments and support, whether it's going to be, and I'm interested to find out, Corey, is it going to be the Facebook users? Is it going to be the YouTube watchers? Or is it going to be the old trusty audio app Clubhouse. We are going to see who it is. But with that, we're going to go to Brother Julian and any other man that's in his barber chair that wants to chime in after Brother Julian. Go ahead and just come off of your mic if you're on the Clubhouse. Tell us who you are and let us know how we can support the women after this decision. Brother Julian, how about it? Can we as men support these ladies after this decision?
Thank you again. I'm gonna take a little pivot, and it's in the same direction, same conversation, but I'm gonna come from another angle. And this is just speculative, it's my perspective. It's just I feel as though what Corey and Corey said as far as the education, that Corey said there needs to be a literacy and education component, and Corey made mention of listening and this and that. So my thing is, then we need to have a conversation with the younger men. Okay, I think men need to talk to younger men about making better selections and choices about what they choose to do with their bodies as well. About some of the repercussions and some of the things that take place. Like, you guys really understand what happens? Yeah, you're feeling your hormones, your testosterone flying, and all these things is going through your body, and you feel like you got to get you some. But let's talk to them about some of the things. Like, you're not thinking about it when you got this situation of a child. Is now you got 18 plus years that you have to still continue to be in this woman's life, whether if you're with her or not. You know what I'm saying? That's if you're going to choose to be a good father, and just some of the things that come with fatherhood. Like, I think more of those conversations need to happen, so that way at least they can start to build up their own courage, right? To be able to have conversations with young ladies like, oh, what's the matter? You don't want me? Or, that they can intelligently and confidently respond to that and not feel like pressured or feel like less of a man again, because they're not giving in to having the sex in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think something along those lines could be helpful, to not even have the woman placed in, or to have her placed less in those situations than as they have been as of late. I'll leave it right there for that.
King Julian, you bring up a very good point, but it's a point of prevention. And as Corey mentioned, the education part, that's where we start with the younger men, with the younger women who may not be having a relationship that would produce a child in the first place. But right now, today, how do we help our wives? How do we help our sisters? How do we help our nieces as they navigate through how this decision is affecting them? And so how do we as men deal with the present, knowing that we really have to go back to the root for some, but how do we deal with the fire that's burning right now? You understand that question, Brother Julian?
Oh, of course I do, absolutely. But like I said on last time we had this conversation when the verdict came out and whatnot, I'm gonna stick to that, and that's the same thing Corey said, which is, there's nothing we can do. Well, I'm not gonna say there's nothing, because that would be an absolute, and I don't like to speak in absolutes. I just believe more listening, like the listening, of being able to adhere to and kind of take more thought into what is going on in their minds, them being the women, and just learning. That I said that before, and I say it again, because I don't have an answer to tell a woman what to do and how she needs to approach a situation, because I've never been a woman and never will be, never want to be, but just listening, and then maybe just, I guess, some encouragement as well, like creating more platforms where they can talk to each other. Sometimes if we have any resources, any venue spaces that we hold, that they can get in front of one another, because the apps are great. I love the apps and whatnot, but sometimes you got to get in front of a person and they need to feel you and see you and get and have that true interaction. And sometimes that can be impactful. And if we haven't, like I said, if we own any space like that in real estate, or we can offer up that space to the women to come and have talks amongst each other, and the older ones can talk to the younger ones, that's something they can do for each other right now. It's preventative as well, but it's also, something real time that we can do. That's my suggestion for now.
Brothers in your barber chairs, look here. Since it's us brothers talking, and it's just the brother, and when I say brothers, I mean as in men. So look here, since it's just the men talking, we having this barbershop conversation. Let's bring some truth into it. Women can talk. I mean, Corey, it can take them 15 minutes to say something that needs to be said in 15 seconds. And the truth of the matter is that most men, we got a cutoff switch. Right? And so when we talk about listening, we get to a point that cutoff switch goes, it's cut off. We're thinking about football. We're thinking about baseball. We're thinking about washing our car. We're thinking about what I got to do for work tomorrow. We're thinking about, am I going to get something tonight? We're thinking about all these different questions, but we're not listening because we're cut off. It's taken her too long to get to the point. So if we talk about really listening, how do we listen with empathy? How do we listen with concern? How do we listen without giving advice? And most importantly, how do we get past that cutoff switch? Men on Clubhouse, they haven't said anything. Look here, you in your barber chair. I know you're getting your hair cut, but we want to hear from you. How about it? Who's on Clubhouse who wants to come off the mic and tell us, how do we men get past the cutoff switch? Because I'm just telling you, when the ladies talk too long, the cutoff switch is going to get cut on. How about it, men? Anybody on Clubhouse want to answer the question? All right, Corey, looks like it's you and I, bro. Looks like you and I. Corey, you said, listen, so how do we get past the cutoff switch?
The cutoff switch is real. I gotta admit, it's a real thing. And how I personally get past the cutoff switch is, I feel like when men talk, we're bottom line up front. A lot of times we'll just put the point straight up front, and then we may, put support and details about it. A lot of time when I'm listening to the women in my life, they'll say one thing, but you really need to listen on a level 2 level. Like, how an iceberg just has the tip of it above the water, and then it's this massive thing under the water. When ladies are speaking, you really got to be looking under the water and trying to figure out what's the point that she's trying to get across, and what's the message that she's trying to send, with all of the support and details that they usually put up front, which is opposite of men. So that's how I work on getting past the cutoff switch, is maybe empathizing with how they feel, and then bringing it towards, that middle ground of asking, I understand how you feel. I'm hearing you. And maybe elaborate more to me what you feel like I can do, or even if you're just venting to me, because that's a whole nother thing I had to learn as a man too. We're so solution based. Sometimes when our women are talking to us, they're not even asking for a solution. They really just want you to listen and do nothing but listen. So a lot of times our cutoff switch is that solution. We're like, all right, you've been talking for 15 minutes. I already know the solution. Here it is. Conversation over. But our women really just want us to, be patient, sit back, and hear everything they have to say about the point. And the only way you can do that is by genuinely having compassion, love, and care for the women that you're talking to. And if you don't have that, maybe those aren't the women you need to be around in your life, because you're not going to change that woman. But what you can change is, your patience for hearing the entire point, and hearing the point that's behind the point, the point that's behind all of those support and details that they like to put up front.
Absolutely, Corey. You bring up a very good point, Corey, as you talk about that. And applies not only to the question that we ask about supporting them through this decision, but just supporting them in general. And you brought up something that we teach in our relationship facilitation, and that is, first of all, we men need to do a little bit better job on finding out what the conversation is about. I don't know about you, Corey, but I know a lot of men that when they hear the words, can we talk? Or we need to talk, it's like, oh my God. I don't know if you've seen the commercials, like, when can we talk? As soon as I finish cutting the grass, and he got a pair of scissors. you know, man, we don't like to have those conversations. So we may, as you said, do better by asking, is this a conversation that you want me to fix something, or is this a conversation that you want me to listen? And then we know how to set ourselves up, And if it's conversation that you want us to fix something, we all in. We men are all about, for the most part, that means I say we all in. We're gonna pay attention because we got to figure out what we're gonna fix. But we need to put that same energy into, it's a conversation to where I just need you to listen. Don't have to fix nothing. Just listen and understand. Now, man, we have to listen to understand. When the ladies want us to listen, we have to hear what they're saying, be able to pair it back to them. What I hear you saying is, and then as Corey, you awful wise for a king your age, and you said something. I asked them, how do you feel? I believe when a woman has a man ask her, how does she feel, and really listen, she's like, this is a different kind of a man. All right, let's go back to the clubhouse, see if they're ready to say anything. And if not, we're going to move to our next question. Clubhouse, any of the men on Clubhouse, just unmic, say your name, and give us your answer. Clubhouse is quiet today, Corey. I don't know. I hope we haven't scared them away.
Pastor Jeff.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. This is Julian again.
Come on, Julian.
Now, Corey, I appreciate you because that is the right mindset, right? I believe that because I do that myself and my wife. I try to, I like to listen. I like to understand. I want to know how she feels. I just think it's a certain way that we have to approach it, because even posing the question the way you said, Pastor Jeff, is this somewhere I need to just listen? Like, this is gonna be a conversation. Am I just listening, or do you need a resolve? I think just that question in itself alone poses another issue. Because because now it comes across condescending in a you know what I'm saying, in a in a certain way. What do you mean? Like like what I'm trying to be helpful. It's no winning. It's not even the competition of winning or losing. It's for men. Nah, it's just, I don't know. Like, I don't have the answers. That's why I said when it comes to listening or how we gonna help, I don't have an answer. The only thing I can do is do what I do. You know what I'm saying? With other younger men or other men or this and that or whatever. Like, because there is no true answer for that, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll admit it. But I feel like when it comes to that and trying to understand where a woman is coming from, my question is usually at the end of it, like, all right, so what do you think is the best thing to be done with it? You know what I'm saying? To be done about the situation. I flip it back. It's not even on me. It's on them. What do you feel as though? I heard what you said, and everything you said made sense. This makes sense. This is why this makes sense. Not me just yes saying in my head. Yes, no, I'm gonna tell you why it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Why I received it, how I was able to receive it, and why your point is valid. Like, that's it. I'm not gonna come against your point, because your points are your points. Your perspectives and takes is your perspectives and takes. So for me, knowing the person I am, how do you feel is best I could help in this situation? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not saying to fix it, but how can I help you in your thought process in it. Like I don't. Again, that's just my approach. My approach might not work for most people, but that's to be having barbershop talk, and that's what it is.
Julie, you bring up a good point, and somebody put on Facebook, I've been talking for years in my career. Now I don't have patience for the blah, 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 blah. And the truth is, for men, for a lot of men, at some point, that's what the conversation becomes, is blah, blah. And that's that cutoff switch. When we start to hear blah, 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 we've cut off. Now, Julia, you brought up a point that is valid, and is that some men feel that no matter what they do, that they're going to lose. And that's not a good feeling to have. Brothers, I'm gonna tell you, it's not good to feel that if you listen, you're gonna be wrong. If you ask the question, you're gonna be wrong. That is not a safe place, and that's what keeps men in the man cave. And so I think that's where we need to get some communication skills so that we don't feel as being attacked when we ask the question, because we do need clarity. We don't know what to do if we don't have clarity. And if I'm going to assist you, then I need to know, is it a moment that you want me to listen, or is it a moment that you want me to fix something? I have to go to an entirely different mindset to listen. I have to go to a different mindset in order to be prepared to take in all the information, because you're expecting your man to have a solution for you after you finish telling him what your issue is. And if I'm going to be prepared for that, I need you to be okay. Now, if I ask the question like, okay, is this a conversation where I got to listen, or do you want me to fix something? Now, that's condescending. But if it's, look, baby, I just want to know before we get started, is this one of those conversations I need to listen? You need a hug? Or is it something that you really want me to consider and give you an answer, or you want a solution or a suggestion for? That's just asking clarity. And I need to be comfortable enough to be able to ask that question. Now, I want to go to another question as we come almost to the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and again say thank you to all of our Facebook supporters who are putting in the questions and the comments. Thank you to our YouTube supporters. It's a good point. I didn't realize that's why they hide in the man cave. All right, so they're listening. And to all of our Clubhouse supporters who are putting comments in the comments, I hope you're putting comments. We're gonna see next week. We're gonna announce who gave us the most response. Who engaged the most? Was it Facebook that engaged the most? Was it YouTube that engaged the most? Or was it the Clubhouse that engaged? But our next question for our men in the barbershop chair is this. As men, how do we support the youth? Whether you have a child or not, whether you're married or not, the question is, as men, how do we support the youth? And more particularly, the young men, because it was brought up that we need to train. It was brought up that we need to mentor. So how do we do that? Let's go ahead and start on Clubhouse, and then we're going to come back to the live. Brother Julian or any of the men who are on the stage would like to answer that question, just unmic and go ahead and tell us who you are, and tell us, how do we support these young men?
Julian again. I'm not getting too tired for everybody. I just have conversations, like it doesn't matter what your platform is, whether your platform is a podcast, whether your platform is a show of some sorts, or you got a radio show or whatever, or you do speaking engagements or whatever the case may be. You just pull up in a neighborhood on a block, and you got a couple young fellas out there, I would say definitely pull in the people that can closely relate to them first, so that way they'll be willing to at least have a sit down and listen. And these are for people that are just random individuals, not necessarily in your family. Obviously, your family members, children, nieces, nephews, whatever the case is, you can sit them down directly and have just real talk, not on some scolding, not on some, let me tell you, no, just talk to them. Just have conversations, just inquire, you know what I mean? And just be inquisitive about what their thought process is like. 'Cause their thought process is completely different than the way I was raised, you know, and a lot of us on here, you know, they have different pressure, they have different stimulus and different things in their lives that's going to trigger them a certain way. So we need to first understand their triggers. We need to understand what's their motive, their motivating factors, and then we can then take the conversation from there. And then as we're speaking, we don't say certain things that will trigger, and it's not us uh, tone checking our conversation, but it's us being mindful of how they're going to be able to receive our conversation. At the end of the day, it's about making sure you plant the seed on fertile ground, and sometimes you have to till the ground a little bit first before you start dropping seeds on them. So it's really just understanding where they're coming from, then being able to relate and say, okay, this seed matches this type of ground, this type of fertilization. So they're ready. Their spirit, their emotions, their things like that are ready to receive these particular words and these conversations, and kind of take and make an approach like that. And then secondly, what I like to do is I like to utilize my, like I said, entertainment and media. So between creating stories, having them be involved in stories, something I call we like to call drama therapy. It works pretty well. It gives them opportunity to express themselves without having to feel judgment. And I'll leave right there.
Thank you, Julian. That is remarkable. We're going to go to Brother Corey. Corey, what can we do to help the young men?
Just like Julian was saying, I think it's a lot of different ways you can do it. Various bases you can come from. So I'll just come from my base, and how I like to help is I like to talk to the young people about things that money can't buy, because a lot of our younger generation, I like to say we live in a bag versus no bag generation, and it's all about, does this make me money or does this not make me money? Does this make me look rich or does this not make me look rich? Does this make me look like I'm popping or does it not make it look like I'm popping? And I like to talk to the men about, like, all right, all of those things are cool, all of those things are great, but what about all the things that money can't buy, like loyalty, like honesty, like, integrity, like just your character in a sense. What I like to ask them, what's their definition of a man? Because a lot of times they'll, like I said, they'll jump straight to the point. I think a man is somebody who can pay their own bills, who can do this for themselves, who can take care of this and all of those things. But I'm like, I know a lot of men who have plenty of money, who pay all the bills, who I wouldn't consider men at all, because they're just horrible when it comes to their morals, and then when it comes to their characters. And they'll never be somebody that I want my son or any men in my family to mirror off of, just because they got a lot of digits in their bank account or because they drive a fancy sports car. So I like to sit the guys down and put them on pause for a second and be like, all right, cool, look, let's pretend you got $1 million. What else is going to make you valuable as a man? What else is going to make somebody look at you and really appreciate you for who you are? Because we all know money come and go, and you can't take money with you either. And yeah, you can leave it behind, but you can't control what they do with it once you leave it behind. When you talk about their morals, and when you talk about their character, and you talk about all of those things that money can't buy, those are the things that I feel like last forever. And honestly, I feel like that's what manhood is really based off of. How firm can you stand in those morals and in that character as a man? So yeah, that's what I like to do to help the youth.
Those are some spot on points, Corey. I want to take a moment before we bring the live to a close, is to say thank you, Brother Corey. We can always count on you. Thank you to Julian. Thank you to Tyrone, Brother Jonathan, Brother Robert, Brother Tariq, Brother Core, Brother Terrence, Brother Cedric, Brother Mac. Let's see who else we've got in the room with us on the clubhouse. Brother Edward, we see, is in the room. Brother James is in the room. Brother Steve, Brother DJ is in the room. And we want to say to each and every one of you, let me see who else is on the stage. I don't want to miss anybody. I think I've gone through. And if I missed you, y'all just hold it to my head and not to my heart. I want to say thank you for supporting the Tom Ford Fridays. And we are having these barbershop conversations. And I know it's the first club on Clubhouse, the whole barbershop conversation with men only. I think I saw a copycat on this week, but that's good because we got men talking. We want to have as many barbershops with men talking. They can have a voice as possible. Now, I'm going to answer this question before we close out. I'm about to get myself in trouble, Corey, but this is one of the things that a senior man can do and be comfortable in doing it. Look, one of the things that we did here, Pastor Jeff did, was with my youth, is I started a weekly cash flow game. Not just any cash flow game, but I actually went and ordered fake money that looks like real money. All right. I ordered fake money that looks like real money. Pastor Jeff was the bank for the cash flow game with my teens. And rather than imagining that he had money, they actually had a representation of money. Can I tell you that some of my teens are still making decisions today based off of their lot in the cash flow game? So this is what we're going to do. I'm about to get in trouble with Renee, the beautiful one. Look, if you want to support the GW3 Cash Flow Challenge, right? We start our annual Cash Flow Challenge. We want you to get in contact with myself, get in contact with Renee. If you're willing to sponsor a game and some fake money that looks like real money so that we could get some of these men who are in positions to bring some youth together once a week and do a cash flow game with them with the real money so that they gotta understand what's happening in real life. You know, one of my youth ended up with 3 children, had a decent job, but he was so frustrated because he couldn't get ahead. He couldn't buy no property. He couldn't invest because he was buying formula. He was being taken to court. So look, we're going to do the cash flow challenge for our youth. And if you're willing, and of course, Pastor Jeff is going to put his money where his mouth is. I'm going to donate the first game and the first set of money. And anybody else that's listening on Clubhouse, anybody listening on YouTube, anybody listening on Facebook, we want you, if you want to support us, support the young men, to support the youth, get in contact with us, and you donate a cash flow game. You donate the money. If you can't donate both, donate what you can so that we can start doing something other than having conversation. Now, Pastor Jeff wants to say to each and every one of you, in the event nobody told you today that you have an absolutely beautiful smile. Me and you too. Look at that smile. Look, if you don't believe me, go look in the mirror, a compact mirror, a rear view mirror. I don't care, your bathroom mirror. You find yourself a mirror and you look in that mirror and you smile at yourself. And I guarantee you, when you smile at yourself is going to smile back. And you take that as your God, your deity is smiling at you. And you go share that smile with the rest of the world. This is Pastor Jeff. My guest today on the live has been none other than the king himself, Corey McCoy, who has a chain of restaurants and is doing great things in his community. He's getting ready to open up some more locations. So you might want to contact him. You might want to be a part of that franchise. On Clubhouse, it's been Brother Julian, Brother Tyrone, Brother Tyreek, Brother Cora, Brother Terrence, Brother Cedric, Brother Mac, and none other than the lady host herself, the beautiful one, Miss Renee Noor. We've got to mention her because without her, we would be on this show. So thank you, Renee, for giving men the space to come to the barbershop and talk. And until next week, remember, get in contact with me or Renee. Ladies, if you have a question, men, if you have a question, get in contact with us. We're not going to promise that we'll put it on or that we'll ask it. But if you give it to us, you never know. But you have to tune in. This is Pastor Jeff, and I want you to have an absolutely beautiful weekend. Until next time, in the words of my friend, Miss Tabitha Brown, if you decide not to do any of what Pastor Jeff said, look here, don't you dare stop nobody else.